time. Roll call.
Director Record?
Here.
Director Wellman?
Here.
Director Duell?
Here. Flag salute. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, I got ahead of myself there, reporting on closed session. So again, number 4, report on closed session. Nothing to report. This is the time reserved for public comment. The portion of the meeting is reserved for any person desiring to address the board on any matter not on this agenda and over which this board has jurisdiction. Please be advised, however, the Brown Act prohibits action on any items that are not listed on the agenda or properly added to the agenda under the provisions of the Brown Act. Board members may, however, respond briefly to statements made or questions posed. They may ask a question for clarification or request staff to report back to the board at a later meeting. Also, the board may act to direct staff to place a matter on a future agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Please step forward to the podium, state your name and record and for the record before making your comments. And I'd like to inform everybody that we are tonight. So definitely step up to the podium.
Hello everyone, my name is Niall McKenna. I work at the Wingfoot House. I'm the property manager there on 18741 Wingfoot. And I work for the owner of the golf course project. And we have a few updates that I wanted to let everyone in on. We've unfortunately not been able to give any updates previously. We wanted to make sure everything was concrete, a good plan in place before we made any announcements, of course. But I know everyone wants to know. So we've had the course redesign done by architect Casey O'Callahan out of Los Angeles. And we have an irrigation plan through RMA Consultants, which is finalized. A master plan by MDR Architects is completed, covering the restaurant, golf course, golf club, and bungalows. And our next steps are working with the water district. So that's where we're at with the project. I know everyone's very interested, not even just here in Stallion, but all across Ashby. It's everybody misses Old Horse Thief. I'm not sure if it's going to be called that anymore, but we are, God willing, going to hopefully get a golf course out here again. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question. In your advertising, you refer to a private lake for fishing. Where's the private lake?
It's one of the hazards. It's right by the house there. It's the hazard that was just off of 10, I believe.
Okay.
It's about 200 yards, 300 yards from the cul-de-sac on Wingfoot there.
One of the golf course lakes then.
Correct.
Yeah.
No, it's not the main lake.
Okay.
We understand that we wouldn't be inviting guests to go to the CSD owned lake, of course.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a public lake.
Yeah. I mean, you know, yeah, exactly. It's but we wouldn't be calling it a private lake, right? Exactly. Any other questions from?
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for the update.
I know I should have probably got on the docket and all that, but I just got the email today, and I've been waiting to tell everyone. I'm so excited myself. Good. And I know everyone else is eager to know details as well as soon as they come in. So I will hopefully bring more good news in the future.
Good. Anybody else?
Bill Syverson, this is I'm kind of curious about something, the map of the district. And I know the district was formed, 55 years ago. None of us were here. I was wondering if the office had any historical documents that why back then, what was the vision? Why is it, I mean, that's a big area. And you have no access to this yellow part by road or anything, and I'm guessing 50 years ago they thought, ooh, campgrounds and other stuff. But Do you know if, I can reach out to LAFCO too and ask them, but anyone know if there's any? Okay, that's fine. No, really, that's okay.
Yeah, current LAFCO would have been responsible for the boundary, for setting the boundary, so they would probably know the why.
Yeah, because they were formed like a few years before Stallion. Okay, thanks.
Is that it? Thank you. Board of Directors time. The portion of the meeting is reserved for directors to present to the board and the public information, announcements, and items that have come to their attention. No formal action will be taken. Director may request that an item be placed on future agenda for consideration. I just have a couple things in that they both involve my absence on the next meeting, May. And I just asked the general manager that she provide me with the legal requirements, and I have some Zoom link to attend remotely. I'll be at the CSD legislative days function in Sacramento, and I'm representing the district there. Is anybody else going? I don't know. Okay. So it may just be me. One of the things that they do there, legislative days, is the CSDA has issues they present that they want you as kind of quasi-lobbyists to present to your local, which are assembly and Senate members in Sacramento there. So I did that last year, and this year I have something that I'd like to do that I think takes more precedence, and that is involving the resiliency of CSDs and the model. And so I'm asking anybody to provide, and you can do this with the general manager, and also for the general manager to provide me with one, as few as one or maybe as many as three, whatever you can come up with, ideas on how we can become better funded. And specifically, I'm thinking we are almost a city here. We're a community of people that is not funded by the county. We're addressing this with the public safety issues right now, trying to get some more money to the police department so we can keep them. But this issue is going to revisit us in terms of all of our functions that we support here. And so we need to have help. And where is that help going to come from? I don't believe it's going to come from grants in particular. But if there are grants that can be rewritten, if there are laws that can be changed, this is what I'm asking for, is what can I present to our local legislators in Sacramento that will allow this district to receive funding that perhaps the city might get? Or how can we get to that point where we are considered as a community of some amount of people that is as valued as cities in this county? Was that clear?
Do you know what that number is? How many people do you have to have in the city?
How many people what?
You need to have a city? What constitutes city?
Oh, I don't think we want to be a city. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that we are taking the place of a city because we have all the functions of a city, essentially, except fire department here. That's county. But every other function, and we're kind of unique in this regard, Stallion Springs, that we have all these other infrastructure functions which basically support the city. So I think we ought to be considered to be a city when grants come the way of cities, or just whatever funding is available from other sources. So that's what I'm asking for is, yeah, if you have any ideas, forward them to the general manager, if she'd be so good to wrangle those if you have them, or from the general manager herself. Give me an idea to present to the legislators, that might be workable, maybe not this year, next year, but whenever. Put it in their minds.
Well, what is Sandwich, or Stallion, sorry, township, is it, you don't want to be a city, so.
It's a community service district.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a special animal. That's why we're all here tonight, yeah. But we function on our own. And that's been a model which is sort of not that viable anymore. That's why so many districts have gone another way. We see this particularly in eastern Kern County, for instance, where they don't have policing on their own. Okay. Police report.
Good evening, community members, Madam General Manager, Board of Directors. The police stats for March 2025, a little bit of an increase, again, going with this current staffing, our reduced staffing that we have, so just general caseload for us is pretty significant. Again, 7 arrests, 7 citations, 127 reports, 152 calls for service, 4 call-outs. We assisted other agencies 9 times, had 9 medical aids, and conducted 6 vacation house checks. And the SSPD officer who was working alone conducted a traffic stop on a vehicle for several vehicle code violations. During the investigation, a records check was done and they discovered that a female passenger had an active no bail warrant, and 2 additional individuals in the vehicle had other issues. Subsequently, through the investigation, 122 and additional 65 grams of methamphetamine, which is it's a giant amount, was recovered. All subjects were arrested and charged with possession of controlled substance, drug paraphernalia, and transportation for drugs for sales. As a reference point, everyone who knows what a sugar packet looks like, right? Sweet and low, that's 1 gram. So you have 187, hopefully I did the math right, that's like a huge box at Costco of illicit drugs. And there was a call for service at a local business with a physical altercation. Upon arrival on scene, employees and patrons advised the responding officer that the vehicle in question, which was a lifted black pickup truck, was fleeing the scene. An investigatory stop was made, and it was confirmed that the vehicle that we stopped was the alleged vehicle involved. The vehicle and the passenger were detained, and subsequently an investigation was conducted by officers, and the 45-year-old male was arrested for assault with a deadly weapon. Probation search of a property led to the arrest of a 27-year-old female for drug paraphernalia. We also had an additional 28-year-old male who was on active felony probation. He turned himself into officers, actually called us on the phone and said he wanted to turn himself in. And during a investigation of some elder abuse, officers conducted a traffic stop of a vehicle with expired registration. During the investigation, officers ran a record check on the subject driver, revealing that he had a suspended driver's license. We were able to gain access into the vehicle where we located a loaded 9mm handgun, commonly referred to as a ghost gun because it's unserialized, as well as drug paraphernalia and unreported stolen property from a Marine Corps veteran. Again, a lot of times officers may oversee those things, but due to our officers really making sure that they go to all ends, we were able to shockingly track down this veteran who returned back to Tennessee. He was working in the wind industry and could not get employment because his ID was one of the items that was stolen in the wallet. But he was here 2 weeks prior to that and was not aware of what really happened, because obviously he was probably consuming some alcohol. So obviously we were able to get him that information, his credit cards, all of his personal identifying information, which is pretty scary because he had it in his wallet. And we were also added that to the charges for the individual. He was ultimately arrested for possession of methamphetamine while armed, possession of a firearm, possession of an undetectable firearm, ghost gun, and the stolen property, as well as having a suspended license and additional felony charges. Officers are also conducting several investigations currently. Some of them are elder abuse contributing to a delinquency of a minor, extortion, and death threats. The committee for the police departments, our election, for those who do not know, is going to be August 26th. The board of directors approved that measure to go in front of the community. So August 26th is the date we're looking at for the mail-in ballots. So the police committee has done a tremendous amount of work and really have worked hard for us. And one of the items that they have helped us to get out to the community as soon as possible is the community police questionnaire. And I have a copy here in paper form. There's also some in the back of the room if you choose to do so. But you can actually go to the Stallion Springs website, and there's actually two ways of doing it. Just go to the Stallion Springs Community Service District website, go to the police tabs, and then they'll show the questionnaire. It's as friendly as you just basically click on all those things, and you could probably complete it in no more than 5 minutes. So again, this information helps with the presentations that we're going to get as far as the information that you're able to write us. So the more people who participate, the better. But also we want to try to have it in as many different formats as possible. So paper is kind of the old way of doing it, still very effective, but you do want to remain anonymous because, again, if you're going to turn it in, you could turn it into the front office staff or you could just leave it there, just let us know. But if you want to be a little bit more anonymous, you can do it online, and there's no way of tracking it. We just basically receive it. There's no names or anything like that for those who want the anonymity of everything. And with that, does anyone have any questions? All right. Thank you very much.
The person wasn't gonna say a word, so,
Could you please
Ma'am,
come
please
forward
come
and
to the
speak
podium.
microphone? Thank you.
Well, maybe this is on the agenda and I missed it, but, you know, there has been a lot of conversation around how adequately we're forced, how many police we need, and since we're not a city, but we have all those responsibilities. I'm just wondering what the conversation is about that. I'm Marilyn Schlip.
I'd like to invite you to attend public safety meetings. They're every 2 weeks. The next one's going to on Monday at 5 or 6? 5. And the next one's going to be next Monday, so you can catch up then. And also all the agendas are on the district website. If you're not on there, time to get on there.
And there will be multiple opportunities for public information meetings coming up in the future.
Yes, the committee meetings are intended to be a working group. So I think we're at roughly 5 now. So I know sometimes we're rehashing some of those items. But again, it's just for the sensitivity and the efficiency of it. But yes, we will be having numerous opportunities to share that information in depth with the community. Here or another designated, it'll be within the district.
Agenda item number 8, consent calendar. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the board or an audience member requests specific items be removed from the consent calendar for specific action. Want to have approval of minutes for March 18th, 2025, regular board meeting?
You don't have to do them individually.
No, we're just Okay.
You can just read the list then.
All right,
Motion is not-
approval of the minutes for March 31st, 2025 special board meeting. Review of financial reports, approval for checks for March 2025, approval of CalPERS retirement payments, and review of well production report. Item number 9, Kern County Honor Flight presentation.
We need a motion.
Yeah,
Oh.
A motion to.
Oh, we need a motion after reading, okay.
To receive and file.
Yeah, so I make a motion to receive and file the consent calendar.
Second.
Do we all, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but do we also do that for the police department or the police report?
We need to do that. For number 7, can you just backtrack
We need a
just
motion to
little
file
bit?
police.
To receive and file, correct.
I'll make a motion to receive and file the police report.
I'll second.
Do we vote?
Oh, and then you would say
All in favor?
all in favor.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, it's your first time.
Did we do ayes on the consent calendar as well?
We still need to.
We didn't.
Yeah, we can do number 8 as well. So, all in favor of 8?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we can move on to number 9.
There you go.
I got drafted at the last moment, folks.
Sorry.
You're doing great.
Okay, so we're on to item number 9, Kern County Honor Flight presentation, board here presentation from Steve Miles with Kern County Honor Flight.
Good evening, board members, general manager, who I know for a long time. First off, my apologies. I was on the agenda last month and I just neglected to look at my calendar. That simple. The reason I'm here is, are you all familiar with Honor Flight? You have a flyer in front of you. We have just recently returned from our 51st flight that originates out of Kern County to Washington, D.C., where we sent about 94 veterans back and associated guardians. To give you a real short overview, the veterans that we send back go free of charge. We charter an aircraft for our flights. We go twice a year. The guardians pay their own way, and it's a 3-day jam-packed tour of our nation's capital. We tour the Capitol building. Vince Vaughn meets us, as he has done since he's been there, and Kevin McCarthy before that, on the floor chamber, and spends a couple hours with us there answering questions, and then we go into the rotunda and spends a few more hours with us in there. So we have a very receptive congressman that spends half of his day every time we go on a flight. The reason I'm here is basically we don't fly if we don't fundraise. Last year I reached out to the city of Tehachapi and they donated a very large check to us. Golden Hills CSD donated, and so trying to beat last year's numbers, which is pretty common in retail and a lot of other businesses, I'm reaching out to different places I haven't been before. So that's why I'm here before you. I'm asking for the board's approval to designate some funds to send a veteran from Stallion Springs back to see their memorials that were built in their honor and take part in ceremonies to honor their service to our country. That's it, plain and simple. I'm a veteran myself. I've been back twice, as a guardian once and as a veteran once. They are two experiences, even though the events are similar. The biggest thing for most of the veterans that served during Vietnam, myself included, is the welcome home that we get at Meadows Field Airport. We probably had 400 or 500 people on my flight, and probably the same, that packed into Meadows Field and welcomed us home. And you really see a lot of emotion at this event because we were not welcomed home during Vietnam. Times were different, and because of that, this is part of the process that we put together for everything for this veteran. A little side note, we don't allow spouses on the flights because this is all about the veterans. It's all about them reconnecting with people they may have known or may have served in similar situations or in similar locations and have common stories that they share on these flights. And it makes lifelong friends to a lot of these people. So that's my pitch to the board. My fundraiser is the 12th this year. Last year I raised $43,000 for Honor Flight here in Tehachapi. It's on Flag Day, June 14th. There's a flyer on the second page there. It's at Triassic Vineyards. And most of the raffle items and auction items that I get are from locally owned businesses. I try to stay away from corporations as much as I can unless they're down in Bakersfield and we don't have them up here. For example, BJ's Brewhouse. They donated 3 $75 gift certificates. We don't have one of those up here. P-Dubs donates, Jay's Hideaway donates, Prime, they donate. Most of the local restaurants here donate a lot, so there's a lot for people to take advantage of. So my request to the board is that they could see to donate at least $1,500, and we can specify a veteran from Stallion Springs as long as they go through the process, the interview process, and meet all the requirements. Among them is a letter from their doctor saying it's okay for them to fly. So there's other requirements that we have as far as medications and things like that that go along with it. We can take veterans in chairs because the guardians are equipped with that, and we make accommodations for that. So that's my pitch. If you have any questions, I'm here to answer what I can. I'm actually on the board of directors of Honor Flight also. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Any comments from the board? I have a little something. FYI, Steve, at the end of my 22 campaign, I gave the remaining funds in my campaign fund to Honor Flight.
Thank you.
It was a very small amount, but it was something.
But every dollar counts. It really does. That's a cliche, but we fundraise all year. We do golf tournaments. We go to the car shows. We're a presence, and there's so much consideration now to veterans that there wasn't not that long ago, actually. So it's not easy, but we're out there and we chase it. So, and simply, like I said, we don't fly if we don't fundraise. It's really that simple.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 10, CCNR enforcement. This is a review of procedures followed by staff for enforcement of the CCNRs.
Did you have ASI?
Well.
Here,
Oh, okay.
I'll give you my board packet. Oh, you got it?
He's got it.
Okay.
Do you have it on your tablet? Page slide 30.
It'll be agenda, ASI for agenda 10.
So the background on this is that if a resident feels there is a violation, they either come into the office or go to the district website and complete a community complaint form. The general manager and or designated staff member then visually inspects the property to confirm an article of the CCNRs apply to the complaint. A warning letter is then sent to the property owner. If the violation is not corrected, administrative citations and fines will be issued to the property owner in accordance with ordinance number 160, section 135. Satisfaction of administrative citations and violations will be in accordance with ordinance number 160, section 138. If the fines are not paid and the violations not corrected, recovery of administrative citation fees Fines, charges, expenses, and costs associated with the violations will be in accordance with ordinance number 160, section 1315. At any time, the general manager may file a complaint with the Kern County Code compliance, depending on the nature of the violations. Well, so I think I'm responsible. I asked both enforcement and perhaps a change in exterior lighting be brought before the board. Because I feel like there can be more done in terms of enforcement by the general manager and by the district. Simply waiting for people to complain about something, I mean, it puts people at a bit of a risk because they don't want to narc on their neighbors, you know? They've got to live with the people they're next to. And, you know, sometimes it gets so bad you don't have a choice. But on the other hand, this district is really not what I've been told it was 20 years ago, because so much of compliance has not been enforced. The way it's typically been done in the past, to my knowledge, is that general managers have gone off on their spare time. Not that our general manager has any spare time anymore. We've asked a lot of her. She's getting a lot done. But in the meantime, we have issues with the district just not being the way it was intended to be in terms of compliances. You know, I've been through the CCNRs, and there really are not that many of them. They're kind of general, actually, and they're all falling under Kern County ordinances as well. There are a few things that cannot be enforced. That has to do with the second agenda item, number 10, because they are no longer valid. For instance, exterior lighting. I guess I'll wait to talk about that. But my main issue with having the two separated is the way they are now, and they really are bleeding into each other, is that we are not getting enough enforcement done. And it feels to me like we need to have the staff out there looking around. I mean, we talk about, you know, do we have the funding for that and do we have the time? It's like, I look at the fact we have, I don't know how many district vehicles and district employees driving the roads every day. And they can be out there, be our eyes and ears. And when they see something, say something. Would the general manager care to go out once a week, perhaps with a staff member, and you know, be more in touch with the countryside, as it were, and the people, and get to know the area a little better, and also be there for the code enforcement that was previously done by previous general managers. I'm just not convinced at this time that because we have pressing issues with public safety, and that's coming up, that's where we're putting all of our attention right now, that we cannot continue to take care of issues that keep this district in somewhat pleasing visual shape. I didn't say what I was going to say because at the beginning of this, and that is, we have a new KOA on Stallion Springs. Isn't that great?
What? I don't know what that is.
Campground of America.
Oh, we do?
We have a fifth wheel parked right in front of a house. To me, it looks like either an RV dealership or a KOA. I believe it's in violation of multiple codes, but I mean, has anyone talked to them? I don't know, because I'm not enforcing the codes. I think to put this all on individuals to come forward to make a complaint is not that realistic towards getting to a place where people can be proud of the community. I keep hearing from people, yes, you know, we come here because we want to do what we want to do, and we do it on the strictures of Bear Valley or other districts. It's like, okay, but you got the CCNRs in your escrow packet. You saw them. I saw them. And if you don't want to live in a community which has other services for you outside the county, then go to the county. It's that simple. I think we have a right and a duty to the people that reside here to do more code enforcement. And I think there are a couple of ways we can do that.
I had a question, and it has to do with cost and the enforcement mechanism. Once you get past the letter stage and the back and forth stage, ultimately what happens to get someone to comply, and how much money does it cost?
It really depends on the violation, Director Record. But, you know, it does get to the point in some cases where the resident or the property owner would be, you know, just refuse and just ignore everything. At that point, you can place a lien on their property, but it's not recouped unless they sell the property, unless they move at that time. And that would be definitely one of the scenarios where county code compliance would be looped into this, and they seem to have a little bit more authoritative means, if you will. I did have a couple of different properties since I've been in the general manager position where we had to rely on current county code compliance to replicate the situation, because they have code compliance officers. There are, they used to only have one, but now they have 3 for this area. So they're more adept and more equipped to assist us than they used to be, and that's been very effective in some cases. If I may comment, I understand what Director Duell is saying. It's my understanding that there used to be a property owners association and a group. They referred to them, I believe, maybe it was the, correct me if I'm wrong, Gary, was it the Police Activities League or the POA that used to do the, you know, drive around and take care of the CCNR enforcement? That was way before I was here, so I'm not sure.
I'm not aware of either. I think the
Okay.
Property Owners Association was just a kind of an advocate group for the betterment of the Stallion.
Mm-hmm.
PAL, kind of the same thing, but youth of the area. But I don't think there was a nexus of them actually going around and doing that.
Okay. We have to have a paper trail. We have to have a paper trail of some sort. This is the procedure that we have followed since I've been here and since Ordinance 160 has been in place, so that we have that paper trail. Because we have to think of it from a legal standpoint as well. And when I say that, I mean, so if I have a staff member or myself, if I'm driving around and I see what I feel is a CCNR violation, but there's also a house around the corner that I missed that also has a CCNR violation, I can be accused of targeting or harassment. So the paper trail helps to defeat that, okay? Would we want to do more enforcement? Absolutely. I will share with the audience and the board, if they're not aware, the staff member that is responsible for this is the same exact staff member that does all of the solid waste site compliance and enforcement and all of the IT for the entire district. That's a heavy, heavy workload. So it sounds like an excuse, but it's the truth. It's the frank truth. We do not have a code compliance officer that's designated. If we were going to enforce the way that I think some of the community members and Director Jewell would like to see, we have to have a designated person. Would we like to get there someday? Absolutely. That would be ideal. But today we don't have that body.
Well, the way I'm reading the CCNRs is it's really generalized as to whoever the board says is code enforcement, is code enforcement. I haven't seen, and I didn't see it put any other way in the Kern County ordinances. But, you know, I mean, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I would just, that's why I'm suggesting that we have a force out there on the roads at all time, maintenance staff, police. I don't want to put any more on police, but I'm just saying there are people that are on the roads and they could start the process. Say, look, I saw this place. It was obviously, can you go check it out? You know, that's simple. By default, the code officer has always been, as far as I know, the general manager. I didn't know that the person you're referring to, I don't know why we can't refer to him by name, but anyway.
Jason Garza.
Yeah, okay. That Jason was solely responsible for that. I don't think he should be. I mean, the district is kind of too large for that. But if that's the case, then I'm responding to what, it's really either the number one or number two complaint I hear, and I've heard it for 8 years about this place, is it's going downhill. And there just isn't any reason for it. So what I'm asking for is, I mean, I don't know, it could be as simple as the board saying, hey, yeah, we endow or allow the people who work for the district to be code enforcement. And they can report anytime to the general manager. The general manager can assign someone, or Jason, or go out herself and confirm what the situation is. Here's another piece to this, which I just thought about, and that is, you know, in terms of public safety and raising money, you know, we have something here, you know, talk about thinking out of the box, that if we could start collecting fines, and not that I want anyone to pay a fine, but maybe that could go to helping us solve some of our money issues, you know. We have the ability to do these things, and I think when people move in here, unless they really have come from somewhere else and they expect no one to mess with them in any way, they understand. They're getting services. This is a community. It's a quasi-pre-city, whatever you want to call it. And we have obligations to each other, responsibilities. And one of them is to keep our properties in the condition in which is prescribed by our CCNRs. Otherwise, you know, the other thing we can do is just get rid of the CCNRs and don't worry about it anymore. Yeah?
I have a question that I've asked. Please come to the podium. I've asked this question before, and my name is Wendy, and I live at the HOA down in Springs, Oak Glen. And we have our own set of rules, and I just got a thing where, you know, they levied a fine on all these different things, but nobody in my area pays attention, just like you're saying, the CCNRs aren't upheld. So, but I did ask this question, and I think Teresa had said at the time that maybe you guys may have precedence over us, but she never got back to me. No, we do not. You don't? Okay, no. So what do we do when we have our own set of rules and fines, and you have an officer that comes around? I mean, what do we do? It would be up to your HOA to enforce your CCNRs. Oh, they're not going to enforce their CCNRs, so. It's not our jurisdiction, okay, because you have your own set. Okay, at least that's a better answer than I've gotten before. Thank you. You're welcome.
Before you go, I didn't quite catch where you're at and what the...
Oh, at the Oak Glen, on Glenview Court. The condos on Glenview Court.
Okay, thank you.
Well, we're actually not condos, we're townhomes.
Well, are these the ones, at the bottom of San Joaquin, or are the other ones out by the lake?
No, not by the lake. We look straight across to the golf course, but, we're between, one end of, I can't remember, I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of it. Horse Thief.
There you go.
You know how Horse Thief comes around and you've got Wing, well, we're between Stallion Springs Drive and Horse Thief off of Glenview Court.
Okay.
And there are there's two, townhomes on that face Stallion Springs. But I mean, it's like, they can't even the law, let alone just the rules. So anyway, I was just wondering, you know, because she had mentioned that, and I thought, well, maybe we could work together.
It's an interesting question, but I would advise you to get involved in your HOA.
Oh, I'm not getting involved with them anymore. They've done so much to me that I don't really care, but, you know, I'd like to see the rules upheld, but just looking around in my area, that, you know, it's not going to happen. They just aren't, because they don't believe that the law is nothing more than just a rule that you can break the rule, and that's their mentality.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the thing about enforcement. If it isn't done, then that's the mentality people get into. And I think that's kind of where we're at as well here.
So I feel for you guys, I really do, but I've had long conversations with this gentleman, you know, and I understand. It's just, I tried. I got kicked off the board for trying to be honest and, you know, keep track of the money, and so I take care of my own stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I do follow the rules, because that's, you know, I was the president for a while. I was president twice. Mm-hmm. But nobody wants to follow those rules. So now they have a management company that they didn't ask many people for, but they're trying. And I just got it, and I've seen all these people where it says no parking, and they just park on the street wherever they want to. And we had the same thing with a big motorhome. But I wasn't going to move that motorhome.
Okay. Yeah, well, again, I would encourage you to, however you can get involved in your HOA.
Well, what I do now is I go through the management company. Because when we got the rules, it said that they were going to elect a board, but the board has no power. It's like they're just there. You have to go through the management company now if you have any kind of complaint. So that's what I started.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
I just had a quick comment. Having lived in the law enforcement world for a long time, it is not a good idea to go down the road of enforcement trying to gain revenue, trying to get money out of people through enforcement. That's a bad thing to do. I've seen it.
Well, that's not, I wasn't indicating as a priority. I'm just, I'm just saying, you know, this issue isn't going away, it's getting worse. And we're not looking like a community that cares. Yep.
I've read the CC&Rs, and I'm kind of curious. I drove around this past weekend. I live kind of on the lower basin here on Gold Rush, and I just kind of drove around, and I saw some properties where they had nice sheds for whatever, and some needed some TLC, but what I saw was just country living. It's just, we're out in the country. I didn't have an issue with it. Yesterday I took Comanche all the way up, and I'm driving up there in Horse Thief. It all looks nice. My neighbors across the street, the previous owner moved to the Dakotas, and they painted their house before they sold it. It's a real nice slate blue. And I went over and chatted with them while they were painting it. It was like their fourth color. They kept getting denied, rejected by, I don't know what review people or whoever did it, but they wouldn't let them paint these colors. And they finally said, okay, slate blue's fine. And I have a problem with that. I mean, there's houses here that are a brilliant blue and a kind of an ugly green. I don't care. If that's how you want to paint your house, if I don't like it, I don't look at it.
So this is actually the purview of the design review, what's the A stand for?
Architectural.
And that has generally been the general manager. I don't know how Laura Lynn has been handling that. It was before her, I'm sure. But I'm just saying, we're kind of drifting off the topic here. This is not CC&Rs. You're talking about a different issue.
Oh, because isn't that in the CC&Rs, the design review, whatever, agency? No?
I think it's a separate
Is it separate?
thing.
Okay. Maybe I need to look at the CC&Rs again.
It is under the CC&Rs. You're probably right about that, but it isn't defined very well, and it's in the community standards. I mean, sometimes it's a matter of the general manager making a decision. So,
Okay.
I mean, I've had it presented to me
but you've had a number of people come to you
all the time,
making complaints about.
all the time. I like you, have thought, well, this is country living, but it really isn't. We are not rural. We are rural residential by zoning.
I don't know.
Well, like I said, there are choices here to be made, and one is if we don't enforce, let's just get rid of them so we don't have to worry about enforcement. And that's where we want to go. This isn't what people talk to me about. They talk about there isn't enough enforcement. So,
Well, it's been brought up that we were gonna have a committee on this, but obviously the, issue with the police department took priority, so.
I think we have many different functions that this district provides, and we have to multitask. I mean, we have to keep going. We just can't stop doing things because we have one thing that we're leaning into right now.
May I make a comment?
Mm-hmm.
I understand what you're saying. I think that we could take a look at possibly making a specific set date and time that is dedicated to CC&R enforcement. I still have to have a paper trail. So I can be the complainant. I can fill out the complaint myself. I'm not a resident of Stallion Springs, so I don't know how legal would view that. But I am an employee of the district, and I've made an observation that there is a violation, and start that process. I will tell you that's really opening a big can of worms and a big task. That's very, very time consuming. We can do what we can with what we have now and look into the future to see if we can move, some employment responsibilities around or delegate some different things to different people. But I have to have that paper trail. That's coming to us from legal. So what that process looks like, we can kind of revisit. I can talk to legal about possibly just a simple memo from the general manager. Does that check that box? Maybe it does. The CC&Rs need a tremendous amount of work. They're very outdated and they're not very enforceable, unfortunately, because
I disagree.
there's so much gray.
Most of them are still enforceable the way they're written, the way I look at it. We are going to talk about specific enforcement on exterior lighting here, perhaps a change in that in the next agenda item. But I just don't accept that they aren't enforceable. I mean, really it comes down to what kind of community do we want?
And again, in the procedure, part of the step of the process is taking the complaint and verifying that the complaint falls under one of the articles of the CCNRs. In some cases, it doesn't. There's nothing in the CCNRs that specifically address the complaint. So then the district doesn't have any way to enforce. We can't enforce on taste and emotion. We have to enforce on a recorded document. But if the request from the board is to take a specific look into the enforcement and set aside additional dedicated time for enforcement, that's definitely something that we can try to do.
Do the CCNRs need to be brought in line with county, the code compliance, that the rules they operate by?
County and state.
Okay. And that's something that our committee that was tabled,
Correct.
they were going to do.
Correct.
Okay.
And I mean, it's a big project in itself. And, you know, and then, you know, agreeing on edits and things like that will be taking some time. But there's a lot of changes that need to be made to the CCNRs to bring them into compliance.
Well, does that move us on to number 11? Change in exterior lighting?
And if the board doesn't have any further on 10.
Yeah, is there anything else on CCNR enforcement?
Is that doable, General Manager,
Yes.
to have someone actually?
I will personally dedicate more time. I do drive around the community very frequently. I don't want you to think that I sit in my office all day, because that's definitely not the case. Because I have plan checks and things like that I have to do as well. So,
Thank you.
if I see something, I will say something.
And you can check with legal about the paperwork.
The formality of how I would document that.
I don't really think it's
I mean, could it be as simple as making a form for this? And
we have a form for it. It's in your packet.
well, that's the individual form, but I mean a form.
Maybe I can use the same form.
Yeah.
I'll just ask legal. Why reinvent the wheel? If I can be the complainant, I'll just use the same form as long as it's okay with them.
Well, and again, I guess I'm just going to say this one more time. You know, can we enlist people who are already on the roads that work for the district? And if they, you know, you become.
They already do.
They already do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
Yes. In fact, our public works crew spent the last 2 days taking down temporary ad signs that were put up all over the district for spraying weeds and We Buy Motorhomes.
I was going to mention Primos, and they put it on one of the safety sawhorses that was covering a fire hydrant on Stallion Springs.
Yes, and I did note that one has been missed, so they'll go back tomorrow and get that one. But they took down a tremendous amount of signs over the last 2 days.
And just to make the point, that was a clear violation of CCNRs. It's in there.
Yes.
Yep. Okay, shall we move on?
Yes, please.
So with exterior lighting, I'm going to propose something here. I don't know how easy this is to do, but we either do one of two things with exterior lighting, and that's...
Director Duell, if I may, can you go ahead and read the ASI first, please?
This is Article 2G of the CCNR, currently reads, exterior lighting, continuous night, exterior lighting of property or improvements shall be shielded, screened, or diffused in excess of 60 watts incandescent power in order to eliminate objectionable and continuous impact on neighboring property. Lighting above this level shall be limited to a reasonable period when light is needed for activities or in response to detectors and shall not be on continuously throughout the night. This article is outdated and needs to be amended as are other articles throughout the CC&Rs. If the board recalls, the CC&R committee was formed to start the process of updating and bringing the CC&Rs into current compliance. That committee was tabled due to the urgent nature of addressing the issues with the police department. County of Kern has a dark skies ordinance that the district can model, and if a violation occurs that the current CC&Rs do not address, county code compliance should be advised. So that's pretty much where I was going with that. I didn't realize that the dark skies ordinance was going to be included in that, but in fact I made a copy of it because number one, I have to repeat since we're on number 11, exterior lighting here. We just can't let everything fall away because we're working on one issue. The district still has to be maintained, and that includes CC&Rs. And that's all I'm asking here. If exterior lighting is an issue because it's no longer reasonable the way it's worded, and it isn't really, there are a couple things that we can do. One is simply change the wording in exterior lighting from diffused in excess of 60 watts incandescent power to, as the dark skies ordinance has, as Kern County has already done, to 60 watts or 750 lumens, whichever is less. What I'm suggesting is perhaps we could, the board can simply change that. And that will give some sort of structure to this outdated modeling of lighting in the community. And the other thing we can simply do is replace it with the dark skies ordinance. The thing that is included in the package is an informational sheet. The actual code is online and covers a lot of things, including lighting next to buildings. And, you know, I've been through it. It seems perfectly valid to what we need here in Stallion and doesn't deviate appreciably from the current lighting code, except that it's very specific. So, in fact, we're just looking to, I can't believe I'm saying this, Kern County as a model to replace our current exterior lighting code. So that's where I'm at with it. We can make a simple change. I mean, if the board can do it, make a simple change so at least it's enforceable. Then it will be enforceable. Or we can replace the whole thing. Because if we don't have time for the committee, the board needs to continue on and take care of things.
How would that be enforced? You have to come up with a time limit for continuous light. So someone has to go out after dark and monitor that, document it, and what kind of equipment is needed to decide whether or not it's 750 lumens or less.
I think it would be printed. I mean, every fixture I buy, true, some are not marked. That's the cheap lighting. But everything else I buy is marked with lumens.
So the equipment would have to be inspected by someone.
Well, if there's a complaint, yes. I mean, it's the same as any other code enforcement. In this case, it's easy because you just ask them to see where, you know, the thing about the dark skies ordinance, it also includes, you know, when you have a spotlight up, landscape lighting, for instance, that it only falls on the tree or the part of the building that it's aimed at, that it doesn't spill over at all, basically, but certainly not onto your neighbors. And that's the kind of complaint I hear a lot. So all I'm really saying here is, with a simple change of the current CCNR, a few words, we can make it enforceable.
Do you need a motion? Motion?
Well, I don't know if we're finished discussing this.
Director Dool, if I may.
Yeah.
So the enforcement part of it is where the challenge is going to lie with this particular article. And there's two reasons for that. One is, you know, during the day you're not going to notice this violation. So, and since I have been in this position going on about 1.5 years now, I've only received one exterior lighting complaint. So, at the risk of going down a rabbit hole, again, they're possibly talking to you, but they're not filing the complaint. They're not taking the action and the initiative to come, and it's very simple. It takes 20 seconds online to type it in and hit go, you know. So those complaints are not coming in, so that's a challenge. Having it have to be inspected at night is a challenge. You know, the district would have to decide, are we going to start paying overtime for staff to go out after hours to inspect these types of complaints? And then maybe Gary can elaborate on this, but if the property owner declines access, we cannot go onto their property and inspect a lighting fixture. Is that correct, Gary?
That's not what the CCNRs say.
So going back, I'm going to just throw out a number, approximately 5 to 6 general managers prior. The CCNRs, I have been told, are just a very, very challenging group of words, to put it lightly. Several of those general managers attempted to deep dive into it, but it also has to be vetted by legal. So, like Kern County ordinances, for example, or even the city of Tehachapi, for example. Like the general manager mentioned, you have the initial violation, but there's no teeth to it. There's no recourse. We had an individual who broke into this building's exterior parking area and ran through the area, creating hundreds of thousands of dollars of damage, and to this day has not paid a single dime because all we have is a lien on his house. So with the process to do it correctly, it has to have teeth. A violation for a county ordinance is traditionally a misdemeanor. So it goes through the court process, and as a special district, again, I don't know if that's something that we're able to do to have that teeth. But for instance, if law enforcement on the very select few ordinances that we can enforce, those are misdemeanors that go to the courts to be enforced, and that's the teeth that they have. With the existing CCNRs, it's 100, I think 200 on the subsequent violation, and then the third. So I think the first step is we have to look at those violations to see if they're enforceable, and of course it has to go through legal to give us that direction. And if not, then we have to, I would suggest, really suggesting other alternatives. And again, I don't know what that really entails. So for us, we have been asked on some occasions, and we have to be very careful because we're dealing with criminal law. And I'm just going to share, in my immediate area, there's several violations that are occurring that have been dealt with. I mean, again, there's not supposed to be chickens in areas, and there is.
There's nothing in the CCNRs that say you can't have chickens.
They have to be pets. All it says.
Isn't there something that says livestock, you have to be part of 4-H?
Yes.
Are chickens not livestock? So that's the other thing is we have a lot of vague information that's conflicting, so how can you enforce some things and then not? And then it just opens up a whole nother can of worms of liability. What we see at the police department level is when we're handling dog cog complaints and with our low staffing, I'm actually thankful that my officers are doing it. That sounds horrible. But that's the number one complaint where they start hating the police department because they can't handle it. So generally we refer to it to animal control for enforcement. And again, sometimes we make a citation, sometimes we don't. But it really comes down to the division of a community even further so because now there's enforcement. So there's long-winded. It's a very challenging, but I think the first step needs to be looking and rewriting the laws. And then enforcement second. And I'm going to say this, and Laura Lynn's probably going to be upset with me. I've even looked at possibly adding down the road some type of enforcement, but as of right now, I can't do that. As a branch of the police department, have a code enforcement officer that we can do that. But then again, the ads is that going to have more division against the police department? Again, do we have teeth? It's not the police department. It would just be a portion of that. That would be something to explore in the future if we get this all in place correctly. We're not prepared to do that now. Now, again, if we want to use existing staff, again, it really comes down to who really has that authority. You, the board, have that authority, but there's a slippery slope of, again, over time, the legalities, and then it might open up for litigation because we don't really have, based on the laws, the authority to really take much action. Again, with a misdemeanor, that is an actual higher crime. It's something that's committed in their presence. These are infractions, for lack of a better term. It's the lowest possible level for a crime classification, which is a concern.
The reputation of Stallion is that it doesn't enforce codes, and it's a free-for-all here. Do I care? I don't know whether I care. I know what I hear from people. I'm trying to be responsive to them. I want to say Article 8, Section C covers inspection. The CSD and or DRA, this is a design review agency, from time to time, at any reasonable hour or hours enter upon and inspect any lot or parcel subject to this declaration for the purpose of ascertaining compliance. Appointments with the property owner are required in order to inspect at times other than during improvements. So, what I hear a lot of is can't. We can't do this. It's in here that you can.
That was my question for Chief. Does the CC&Rs, with that section of the CC&Rs, does that give staff the authority to access or to basically trespass or onto someone's property to inspect an exterior light, for example?
It doesn't say trespass.
For lack of a better word, access their property.
Well,
does the CC&Rs cover us legally from an enforcement standpoint, from law enforcement standpoint?
Well, if you're looking at legalities, I suggest you not use the word trespass as a general manager.
I would have my concerns as an officer, because again, that might generate a call for service. I think for better direction, it should probably be ran through legal. Because again, when were these written? Originally?
The last revision was in 2000.
2002, I think, was the update
on
it. But so they were written before that. Well, look, I thought it was important to bring this up. I hear it all the time. I don't know, I guess I've done my due diligence. But honestly, what I'm hearing is, why do we have CC&Rs?
I would encourage them to go online and file a complaint. I don't know what else we have the ability to do at this time. Exterior lighting is going to be something that is at night. So I would have to hire someone to be on duty at night to drive around and randomly look for exterior lighting that violates the CCNRs.
And it also goes to what Director Record also mentioned is they're going to have to possibly remove the lighting source. So now you possibly are going to have to, and I see what you're saying. I 100% see that there's more CCNRs that need to be enforced. I 100% agree with that. But the process is not to be the police state. It's a reactive than proactive. But with that, you're going to have gloves. You're going to have to remove it. There's a whole train of things that have to be really kind of documented, and the safety of the employee in mind. We currently don't have that equipment to do so unless you do it during the day or you do a follow-up during the day. And again, technically there's not a violation that's occurring in their presence. They need to see the violation and really take action as they see it.
The CCNR article for exterior lighting needs to be updated. So if you would like a draft update or revision, if you will, presented to the board, I'm happy to do that. And I will vet it with legal prior to.
So I would think the very least we could do, if it passes through legal, is we simply change the 60, I think this is the only place where watts or power is mentioned in the CCNRs, and that is the 60 watts. And that should be changed. It could be done two ways, either 60 watts and 750 lumens. And there may be a reason for not doing it that way. Or 600 watts or 750 lumens, whichever is less.
Would it be feasible just to take the county's dark skies ordinance and just fold that into and just replace our?
That's easy, yeah.
You have to have time to review it. I haven't even read through it, so I'm not voting on that.
No, I mean as a future matter. Is it feasible just to do that rather than
not this evening.
rather than reinvent the wheel?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I can bring a couple of options to the next meeting if you'd like me to.
Yeah, I'm good with that answer. I mean, I just wanted to make sure this was on everyone's plate, because we just aren't going to have empty plates for a while. Yes, please come up.
I got a question I'd like to ask. I'm involved in a situation with exactly what you're talking about. My name is Roger Bailey. I live on Man of War. And I spoke to you before, Mr. Duell, about this. And I have a neighbor that has a light. It stays on constantly all night long. And he has it mounted on his house where it shines against my house. And there's a motion sensor in it to where if a cat or even, I think maybe even a mouse walks by, it puts an extremely bright light on all of a sudden. And it's enough to wake me up in the middle of the night. My bedroom's right there. And so is this concerning lights that stay on all the time, or lights that are just activated by motion, or what?
So that isn't covered in our current CCNRs, and this is why, I am totally not against replacing the exterior lighting section with the dark skies ordinance, which covers all of that.
Does it?
Yeah, it covers temporary lighting and lighting that goes on and the whole thing. And I would encourage you to go, just do dark skies ordinance, Kern County, and you'll find a link there. In fact, all the county codes are there if you're looking for anything else.
Does it cover where the light is focused?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Because, I mean, he's got it on the house and it's tilted up like this, and it's shining right on my house over the fence. So,
but just so you understand, one of the issues that's come to light tonight is as Chief has said, and the general manager, is enforcement. You know, maybe we know it's there, and now we've got to verify it. Someone's got to come out at night.
Yeah.
And we don't have anything working at night except on-call police. So, there is that issue.
It sounds like that dark skies, situation might remedy some of this.
Yeah, you should read it. It's pretty good the way it's worded, and I think it would pretty well cover us. So that's an option, you know, that way we don't.
And I will remind you that that dark skies ordinance under the County of Kern is in place now. So if you bring it up on their website and you read through it and you say, oh, this fits within the issues that I'm having, you can file a complaint with Kern County right away, right now, today.
Filed with the county rather than.
It's their ordinance, so they would be the enforcement.
They would have to be the one to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't need a motion. We're going to go to further information. Is that correct? The next meeting, or?
If you can make a motion to table it, if you do consider
Okay.
to move it to a further date.
Motion to table.
Motion to table this issue to the next meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed. We'll table it till, I don't know, next month? The month after?
Are you gonna be here next month?
Oh, next month might not be that good.
That's okay. It'll take some time to draft some options for you.
Yeah, I'm not looking for anything right now. This is just something that I hear all the time, and here we are. Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Okay, where are we? Committee reports. Is there an ASI on that?
No.
So, can we hear from the Personnel Committee? These are subcommittees from the Public Safety Committee, correct?
No, these are each a standalone committee.
These are standalone committees.
Yes. So Personnel and Finance, I can tell you, did not meet. Nothing to report.
So just public.
So these, okay.
I'm,
Who is the Personnel Committee?
I don't have that in front of me, but right there, that gentleman, and I believe Director Napier, so we'll have to replace him at some point. But that committee is only in place if there is a complaint with the general manager's job performance. That's the only time that they would meet.
Okay, I didn't realize these were not public safety subcommittees, so.
No, they're not. They're standalone standing committees.
Okay, do we have a report from the Public Safety Committee then?
Do we have finance, or did we?
Finance and Personnel did not meet.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So I was in attendance at the last Public Safety Committee meeting, and Director Dool facilitated the meeting, so I don't know if Director Dool will have anything to add. That committee has done a tremendous amount of work. Again, I cannot thank the volunteer residents enough that have dedicated their time to that committee. It's a very important committee, and it's very time consuming. They're meeting every 2 weeks with task assignments in between. I could barely type the agenda in minutes fast enough, and we're meeting again. So it's a very busy group. One thing I would like to report out of that last meeting, and Chief Crowell already touched on it, our policing questionnaire is out to the community. It's been sent out via email, it's on our social media, it is on our website, and again, paper copies are available at the back table if you'd like to fill one out, you know, kind of the old-fashioned way, if you will. It is completely anonymous, you do not have to put your name on it. It's just getting an idea from the community about what is their perception of the police department. And we're going to take that information that we get back, and that's how we're going to sort of draft the theme or the topics, if you will, for our public outreach meetings. So we can kind of address and pinpoint some concerns or some misnomers or things that the community is craving to understand about the police department. So that questionnaire is in full circle. We've already received quite a few back. So I'm sure that will be discussed at the next public safety meeting. We'll probably have copies for everybody to go through and kind of look at. But that's really all I had, unless Chief or Director Dool had anything to add.
Well, I do have a question as to when messaging will begin.
So I have drafted a kind of a basic calendar and some options of different dates and times and themes, if you will, going from everything from a standard traditional town hall to an ice cream social, and everything in between. So that will be presented at the next committee meeting for the committee to decide which schedule they want to go with.
Okay, thank you. Item number, any comments? Oh, no.
No. Anyone that, did you want to add anything, Steve, since you're here?
The Finance Committee hasn't met since the last public safety meeting because we ran into a brick wall. We can't get anything done. The CSD cannot campaign for a tax increase, can only educate. We can't find, the foundation has people from the CSD who are on the board, active with the board secretary and the treasurer, so there's a conflict of interest there. And so it's going to have to be a private citizen that gets this all started, and messaging needs to be, it needs to all jive together. We need to get a common message out. And if you turn that over to private citizens, they're going to do what they want. So I don't know. I am out of ideas, and I think I speak for the other two members of this committee as well. The general manager and her staff have come up with some funds that maybe will help the chief add 1.5 people back to the police department in the near term. Near term defined by the chief, not by me. And I think that's about it. But this is kind of the darndest thing I've ever seen in business. This is public. I'm not a public servant. I never have been. I love this community though, and I respect everyone's efforts here and everything you're trying to do. But I know that we have to get rid of this. We can't do this. We can't do that. We have to start saying what we can do, or nothing's ever going to change. I've been president of HOAs, to Director Dool's comments, and I don't want to get off topic here, but the biggest problem HOAs have is they don't enforce the rules, and people don't pay their bills. And so if you don't do what you're supposed to do, everything goes downhill. And if you don't have lights on at night, you get crime. Right, Chief?
Well, that's the other issue is a lot of times people who have lights, it's for security purposes.
That's right. And so that's really what I have to say. This is the darndest thing I've ever seen, and I remain available to try to help figure things out. But we have a lot of challenges, and I don't know how much we can I don't know, everybody that I've known, and I haven't lived here long enough to know a whole bunch of people, but all the feedback I have about the tax increase is negative. And, we have to convince people that this is a worthwhile cause, and I'm baffled by that because I'm pro law enforcement, but, that's where we're at. And from here until August, we have an enormous challenge. So, did I miss anything?
Thank you, Steve. I don't think so. I just want to let people know that Steve and I are on a subcommittee, which is personnel and finance, and we'll probably address this at next Monday's public safety meeting as well. But I'll just address what Steve has said here. Our subcommittee has been asked to do things that we cannot do. And we've gone to the ends to try to figure out how to make these things work. And we just keep getting can't. Steve is, I believe you're president of the foundation, is that right?
Yes.
I went to the foundation to ask for money for messaging. And I'm only finding out, I don't even know if I am messaging or I'm not, but someone else is doing it. So anyway, we're looking for money now. And it turns out that the CSD cannot get involved because they can't advocate. They can only educate. And the problem with the foundation is that they are using CSD staff to run it. So they need, the foundation, if they're going to give my subcommittee any money, have to divorce themselves from the district. So we have another legal challenge. It's like everything has come apart here in trying to solve these issues. And I think that's what he's referring to in that, we keep getting can'ts, and then we look for a different direction to go, and then there's another can't. And it's been extremely frustrating. I thank Stephen and Jeff and all the members of the Public Safety Committee for working on this to the degree they have, because we've had some unbelievable meetings. And I believe General Manager referred to one that happened earlier. I'm not going to go over it now again, but it left us all just wanting to say, we're done, we're cooked, we're out. So we'll continue on. I think Stephen isn't going to quit. I'm not going to quit. And I don't think Jeff wants to quit on our little subcommittee. But we'd like to see a can once in a while. And I think that's the motto of tonight. Is I'm looking for cans, not can'ts.
I wanted to address what Steve was just saying, and because I was at the last committee meeting, and I heard the general manager saying that you and the subcommittee and the fund, you can't do anything. You can educate, but that's it. And I have my property, which is in a fortunate position to put signs up or whatever. And so what I was going to ask at the committee meeting, ask of the people behind me, was, look, I can't get, it's too late in the game to put together, what do you call them, a PAC, Political Action Committee, because you got to file with the IRS and Santa Claus and the man in the moon. But what I can do is just ask for anyone that wants to help to get the word out, to advocate. But I strongly believe that it has to be in line with your information. I don't want to go out there saying anything that's then going to be contradicted in a town hall. So it's working with you guys, the general manager and the chief and the members of the committee. Okay, this is what we want to say. This is what, we want to put on a sign. Would that conflict with your message in your education? And if not, now the money, yeah, I don't have an idea yet. That's, I think, going to be just asking if anybody wants to pony up some. I don't mind. I mean, I'm broke as everyone else, but I sure as hell don't want to see our police department go, because I know what will happen. My next door neighbor in 2006, that horrible accident on the 202 where the mother and the two girls head-on collision. They weren't living next door to me, and my daughters were never allowed to play in the house because the house was used for the manufacture and distribution of aircraft parts. She was using it as a crack house. So we really can't lose you. I mean you, the police department, because I know what's coming if we do. So, yeah, I was kind of torn with doing that or applying for the board position, and I think I'm going to try advocating. But I do want to work with you guys and make sure that whatever I'm putting out to the public, like I want to go talk to Evan, because I know Evan, I've known him a while, take a stack of those and say, hey, would you mind if I put these out here for you to distribute to your customers? Then do whatever. I'm going to put signs on my fence so that people start becoming aware, as long as it's in line with how you want to educate the public. That's all.
I think the frustrating thing, and I've mentioned this before, is we are discovering things that have been, this community service district has always worked with the community to try to get things done. So when the foundation was first created, it's just because they don't have the staffing, we were trying to help them. But now that we're starting to open up these things, we're starting to discover these issues. So again, this is no fault of any staff current. This is really realistically 50 years of the same thing over and over and over, and now we're starting to discover it. And I think everyone can agree this is a very frustrating process, but we're also trying to limit the liability that we're also potentially going to get in if we don't do the right thing. I 100% understand where you're coming from, a resident, and as a resident, I'm there as well as an employee. So every day I'm a little bit more concerned, but I still have faith that we are doing it the right way. It's going to take some time. Anything worth its salt is going to have some changes and is going to have some difficulties. But we will get this done. We will work together as we are. We have good quality people from all different backgrounds who are working through this, and it just feels like what I'm hearing is like there's almost a divide of the community, which isn't the case.
No, but I understand that as a government entity, I mean, you can go to Los Angeles, you can go to the state, whatever. You can't, the government can't say, we want you to do this. You can't do that at any level. But Joe Citizen can. And there's going to be other residents that don't want the tax assessment. They're like, well, it's fine. We don't need the police, whatever. Okay, well, that's America, and that's what they're entitled to that opinion, but I think we need it, and I want to take advantage of my citizenship to advocate and to make sure that I'm doing it in lines.
And I appreciate that, Bill.
But because I know what will happen if we start saying something and then you say something different at the town hall, because at the town hall, I can speak as a resident, but the residents are listening to the government, and if I'm spewing something, then you contradict it. That's just, sorry, that just unravels. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate the fact that you can advocate, but I feel strongly enough about it that I want to try to do something to get the word out, to do the, I guess we called it outreach, and get going. And I think there's other residents that want to use social media to reach out. I'm not a social media person, but that's so. But I think it needs, we need to kind of what Steve was alluding to. You guys can't, but I can.
Yeah, my desire is, you know, to get some of these things out there as soon as possible, but I just want to make it known that the committee is not broken, and if we are, why are we doing this? We have to be united in one voice. We have to.
And Director Dool, may I clarify, I know a lot of people in this room understand, but for those of you who are maybe watching on our live stream or maybe don't understand the why. So when we say that the board and the district staff can only educate, they cannot advocate, that is political fair practices law. So I just wanted to clarify that. That's not something that we're not doing because we don't want to, or we're lazy, or anything like that. We have a responsibility to educate, but we can't advocate because then it's considered campaigning, and that's against political fair practices law. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Maybe this is something we can bring up at the meeting on Monday. We're planning these fundraisers, and that money's going to go to the foundation, and we can't use money from the foundation.
You can't to campaign, but you can if Chief Crowell needs a specific piece of equipment purchased or wants to send an officer to training, things like that, he can go to the foundation and request that fund be used. It's earmarked for police department, general.
It sounds like we need another entity that people can donate to that is separate from the foundation and the district that can fund these things that we need. But again, we probably should kick this around.
Yeah, that's a topic for that committee level meeting.
I have a question. If the foundation has fundraisers and we have a big sale or something and we raise $10,000, to me, it seems fair that if I, as a proponent of the assessment, you give me $5,000, but you would then have to give $5,000 to those that don't want the assessment. And to me, you're not favoring one side or the other.
Well, but you're not a public entity.
No, I'm just Joe.
So I don't see a conflict. Why should I have money to
well, who's doing, again, we'll talk one day.
Yeah, I think this is all committee work.
Yeah.
We're not doing this.
Yeah, I just want to say, I think there's going to have to be some reckonings on Monday so we can get started and get the outreach and messaging out there. And hopefully that's what will happen. So that's the end of the committee reports. Let's move on to the general manager's report.
Okay. I'm happy to announce that our brand new first ever Stallion Springs CSD Facebook page is gaining some ground. It's gaining some activity. It's been up just a couple days over 1 month now, and we have 248 followers. And we are getting a lot of people sharing our posts as far as some of the other community pages and just citizens as well. So I encourage you, if you are on Facebook, please find the Stallion Springs CSD page and follow us. We are posting a lot of information on there. There is at least one, sometimes 2 posts a day. So we're trying to get that momentum. Congratulations to Johnny Rodriguez. He passed his T2 certification last week. So we're very proud of him about that. And I want to publicly thank the Greater Tehachapi Chamber of Commerce. They reached out to us several months ago, and They were hosting their spring car cruise, and they wanted to use the Stallion Springs CSD parking lot as their starting point. So we reached out, and the foundation graciously, thank you, Steve, him and his wife worked very hard. They provided coffee and donuts, and they were here in the morning with us, and all of the participants in the car cruise got free coffee and donuts, and they learned that the Stallion Springs Foundation exists. So that was exciting. They had over 60 cars participate in the car cruise. They left here, they went down Stallion Springs Drive. All the vehicles except one were low enough to go under the covered bridge. One had to find an alternative route because it was a truck that had big smokestacks on each, and they were too tall to get under the bridge. But they went under the bridge very slow, and there was a professional photographer there. So everybody walked away from the car cruise under the Stallion Springs covered bridge. So that's a first. It was kind of fun. It was exciting. I was on hand. They had several raffle or opportunity drawing, to be correct, tickets that they were selling, and they graciously put that money back to the foundation earmarked for the police department. When we left TK Pizza, which was their ending point for their cruise, we had $400 from those ticket sales. And when I got back Monday morning and I boasted to a local resident that we, in just a few hours on a Saturday, sold $400 worth of tickets, he said, "I'll match it." So we made an $800 deposit into the foundation, earmarked PD, just out of that event. And it would not have happened without the Greater Tehachapi Chamber of Commerce remembering Stallion and reaching out and using our facilities to launch their car cruise. So I think it went very well. I've heard comments and rumor that maybe they'll be doing it again next year. So we'll see what happens with that. But that was very exciting. I also want to announce that P-Dubs Mountain Bowling, as a business, they are, as you know, I think most of you, those business owners, the family that has called Stallion Springs home for many generations. And Stallion Springs is very important and near and dear to them. They have taken it upon themselves. They are hosting a cornhole tournament at the bowling alley on April 26th. I got an update the other day that there's a couple teams coming up from Palmdale, Lancaster area to participate in that tournament, so they're very excited. And they will be making a donation to the foundation, also earmarked for the police department, equipment, training, things like that. So if you're around the bowling alley on the 26th, please come by and participate in the cornhole tournament. The proper notice has been posted in the Tehachapi News that we have a board vacancy. It has also gone out via email and social media, and we do already have 4 applications in. So once those are completed, I have here in my general manager's report that they'll be ready for selection at the May meeting. In prior discussions with the board, that will be moved up. They will most likely be holding a special meeting the first part of May. So hopefully that person that's selected to fill that vacancy will be seated at the dais for the May meeting. That would be the ultimate goal, right? But we do have 4 applicants in already. And then I'm proud to say that we had our random annual trash site inspection by Cal Recycle. Representatives from Cal Recycle came and did a site visit, and there were no violations. We passed with flying colors. So I'm happy about that. And then I want to remind everybody about a couple. We have senior bingo coming up, April 17th. It's always the 3rd Thursday of every month, so everybody's welcome to please come and participate with senior bingo. And then this Saturday we have our Easter egg hunt. And the Tehachapi Queens were busy yesterday putting candy in plastic eggs. I've never seen so many eggs in my life. So, and they're going to have, the Easter Bunny will be present, and there will be a photo opportunity and some fun going on Saturday. So just don't anybody wash their car because I don't want it to rain. Okay, so that's my report for this month unless there's questions.
All right, I guess that's it. Motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Nobody wants to get out of here, okay.
We do.
It was that great a meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.